Today we visit Kay Haskell at their studio in Brooklyn. Kay creates incredibly intricate and beautiful works of the obscure and the unwanted. Hey!
Welcome to my studio. This is kind of like my getting messy workspace here, where I'm pouring resin. Everything here is kind of really messy, including the surface that everything is on is like all kind of stuck together with resin. So this is my couch, which is a lovely thing to have in a studio, especially when you want to take a nap in the middle of the day. And this is kind of where I do my intricate drawing and collage pieces. So everything's kind of more on the clean side over here because these all kind of need to be in good condition. This is pretty old. I made it while I was still in my MFA program. Basically, it's like 2 layers of translucent mylar, which is the medium that I've been using. It's an abstraction based on one of my drawings. I think the drawing was of like dead fish or something. So it's basically like meant to be installed in the middle of a gallery and you can just like walk around it. These are my storage shelves where I have all the things I need, plus my little collection of specimens and whatnot. So I have bones from animals that people have given me, a centipede that I put in resin myself, which is actually that drawing right there. This is an apple I let rot in my studio in like a Tupperware container for about 6 months, and then I put it in resin. It's been in resin for over about a year now, and it stopped rotting, so it's kind of like frozen in time. This is a human bone. The humerus, I think it's the humerus. Anyway, that is from her. This is a human skeleton. Probably my favorite object that I own. My old professor let me take it because it was damaged and they like replaced it with like a fake skeleton. So it's like for the figure drawing classes. Her name is Lucille Femur, and she's missing a leg and most of her arms and her head, but she basically said like the skeleton was at the college when I started teaching. So, and she started in the 70s. I've drawn my whole life. But then I did this low residency MFA program that was very much focused on interdisciplinary work. First I was doing a lot of abstractions, but then I kind of circled back to drawing. The drawing style changed significantly because I saw this thing on the street that I became enamored with. It was a car. The engine was just like blown to shred, like it just like charred, and the texture inside of it was really kind of beautiful, but you know, not beautiful at the same time. So this is one of the drawings of the blown up car, and then here is another one. So I started seeing other things that I wanted to draw, like dead rats and dead birds and rotting kind of like fruit, you know, like I think I saw like a rotting apple or rotting mango. I just like all of a sudden became a person that looks on the ground all the time. This style that I did with a car, and it kind of became this whole series, which I called Decomposed. But yeah, so that's Decomposed Book 1 and Decomposed Book 2. It's not all of my decomposed drawings, but it's like a selection. So I think there's like 55, 60 drawings in each one. Because I have done over like 200 drawings at this point. The resin is a new thing. So it's basically like wood that I'm finding from the scrap bin at the studio here. So I'm like repurposing the wood. This is actually one of the first resin pieces I did. is basically like like a sample piece now. I'm not going to do anything with it. I can pour resin over this and we can see what happens with it. Okay, so now I have to think math. I do this low to the ground so I can see with, the, you know, to make sure that it's level. It's going to be 8 ounces altogether. So that was the resin, and this is the hardener. And you have to make sure that the edges of the work aren't touching anything, or else it'll get stuck to it. Try to spread like an even layer over it. Yeah, once it's dried, then you just layer and like add more layers. Most of the pieces have probably like 4 layers of resin. Can you see the bubbles? They're just like little tiny. And this thing gets hot immediately. So now you can kind of see that they're like going away. And it takes like 24 hours to fully cure. It's a bat. I got it at like a thrift store upstate last summer. I think it was like 50 bucks.
A steal, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much taxidermy is supposed to cost, but I was like, that's worth it.
Thank you so much for showing us your space.
Yeah, thanks for coming over. It's been great. Bye.